Hey everybody, let me just set the stage for the video you're about to see. This is a conversation I had with one of the all-time marketing greats, Ken McCarthy. Ken is considered to be the godfather of internet marketing. He was one of the first few people to recognize the commercial potential of the internet. And if you look him up, you'll find all kinds of interesting things about him. And I hired him to consult with me on a major project I launched at the beginning of this year. And part of that service he did for me was this kind of interview where we just talked it out a bit. And what you're about to see is going to be eaten up by a lot of people who love this kind of thing. I mean, I find this stuff fascinating, talking about business and marketing and all that stuff. I think that's great. This is the guts of capitalism, and I just love it. Other people, it's not their thing. That's okay. I have many fine videos on this channel that will keep you entertained. But for those of you who are curious about this is an opportunity for me to talk to one of the all-time greats. And I thought maybe it might be worth sharing. Now, you should note that, of course, you'll see the video quality isn't really that good. And that's because I was not actually planning to release this video as a video, or maybe even at all. So we had the video on just so that the two of us could talk, and it'd be a little bit better than a phone conversation. But I wasn't actually planning to release it. And you can tell I'm slumped in my chair, and my face is behind the pop filter over here on the microphone half the time. You can't even see me. But anyway, nevertheless, I've decided that it's just such a fun, interesting conversation, and you might even draw some ideas from it for your own projects, that I just couldn't help sharing it. So here we go. This is a conversation between Ken McCarthy and me about a membership I launched February 1st, 2022, called the Tom Woods School of Life, in which I talk to people about and bring in experts to help us with how you survive and thrive in a world that obviously hates you. Every major institution hates you. They can't stand the sight of you. And we've just come to accept this as normal. It's not normal. It's not normal. How do you educate your kids in a world that hates you? How do you manage your money in a world that wants to whittle it away? But there are a million other questions about relocation. Where can I live that's sensible, and where I can find work, and where they're not going to make arbitrary demands of me all of a sudden. We talked about health, which is not just Fauci. There's more to health than Anthony Fauci. So we talked about health, all the sorts of topics, making you confident in social situations, making you a more effective communicator, helping in business. We just recently launched, as a matter of fact, a brand new feature where we meet in small groups. We have a whole bunch of these groups, but just 8 to 15 people meet every week, and they check in and talk about how their business is going and what they're going to try to achieve by the next time we meet. And then we talk to them about problems they're having and how our various insights can help them. So we have these accountability groups that are doing tremendous good for people in business, but we're also going to have them for fitness and diet. We're going to have accountability groups for personal finance. It's about making your life in the here and now better, and not just spending all day long debating the non-aggression principle, but helping libertarians to live better, more prosperous lives in the here and now. As far as I know, there's nothing like this in the libertarian world, and so that's why we launched this thing. So I hope you enjoy this video between Ken McCarthy and me. Here we go.
Coming Richard Nixon.
Yeah, the tapes. Yeah, you said, but the difference is I'll destroy the tapes if they ever come. Right. All right. Okay. You ready to go?
All set.
Okay. All right. Let's talk.
Okay. So tell me what's up. So you have the launch is coming soon?
Yes, February 1st. So as we record this, it's 2 weeks from tomorrow.
Good.
And I've released 3 cryptic videos. The third one came out just today.
Okay.
But each one gets successively less cryptic. So the first one was simply titled it was simply 3 question marks. The second one, which revealed a tiny bit more, had 2 question marks. Today's is 1 question mark. And then the final video before the announcement will be an exclamation mark, because then it'll be quite clear. Now, let me tell you, by the way, where I got the idea for this, because this was not entirely my idea, this video thing. There's a band I like that disbanded a number of years ago, and they're the best band you've never heard of. They're called Porcupine Tree. They're great. They're extremely talented. And they went off and had solo careers. But everybody wanted them to get back together, and there didn't look like much prospect that that would happen. And then one day on their YouTube channel, they released a video that was extremely cryptic, and it lasted about 12 seconds, and the title was simply 2 question marks. And instantly, all the fans were talking, what does this mean? Are they getting back together? Are they just releasing a box set? Are they? And we were arguing about what it could mean. And then before you know it, another video comes out, ever so slightly less cryptic. And I think this one may have had the 1 question mark. And then they made the announcement, we're getting back together and we have a new album coming out.
Wow.
So all they had to do was just say, we're getting back together. That's what anybody else would do. But no, they teased it and they ginned up all this excitement and interest. And so I thought, I want to take that and use that for myself for this.
Nice. Nice. Yeah. Showbiz.
Why not? It worked for them. It worked. And by the way, people have all kinds of theories as to what this thing could be. That's right. And some of them are some of them I'm thinking, yeah, maybe I'll do that too someday. But others I think, oh gosh, if that was my announcement, I would be very disappointed. And the way I have people on my personal Facebook say, look, I'm dying to know what it is. And I had somebody say, I have such a great idea that I hope that that's what it is, that if it isn't my idea, I'm going to tell you my idea so that maybe you'll do my idea too. And then I responded, when you find out what this thing is, you are going to be so flabbergasted, you're going to forget all about your idea.
Wow. That's great. So it's happening. I mean, it's
happening.
Okay.
It's happening. Yeah.
And those are just the people you're hearing from.
That's right. And by the way, I think I just got another consulting client for you, because I was talking to one of my friends very well off today. And I told him what the announcement is. And I told him about you and me and you having the idea for the way we would set it up and everything. And
okay.
He was so impressed. He said, do you think I could pay him the $2,000 to talk to him for an hour? I'm not, and he's serious. He wants to. And he's you would find him fascinating. And I know that you don't automatically take people on, but I'm telling you, you would love this guy. And so he instantly wanted to. So, I mean, it's just like money's falling from the sky here, Ken. When you get to know Woods, you get checks in the mail, you get new people.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. It's right here.
There it is.
Okay. I don't forget. So February 1st is the launch. And so you're gonna do one more video?
There's gonna be one more video that will come out that will make it pretty clear what's going on. Not precisely, but in this video, you finally hear my voice. And
you had.
And there's no, my voice is not. There's no voice in any of the videos. It's clips of Fauci or somebody in a mask or money being burned up, because of inflation and stuff like that, and just dystopian images. And then in this last one, but the third one turns around to hope, because in the third video, things start going backwards. So money that was on fire in an earlier video, the fire is going out and the money is being restored. Things are going, like fires are going backwards. And at the end, there's the word hope on the screen. And then just when the piano hits one particular chord, TomWoodsAnnouncement.com comes up.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
This is brilliant.
I'm so excited about it, Ken. But let me tell you though about the fourth video. Because by the time anybody, because we're doing this for my benefit, but in case I ever use this, by the time this comes out, everyone will have seen all 4 videos. But the fourth video is these videos have been very dark, very, very dark. And whatever, if there's been any music or sound, it's very dark. This fourth video is very, very upbeat. It still shows clips of some things that we prefer were not happening in society, but it's got my voice and I'm saying just a few things. Because again, these videos are no longer than 30 seconds. And I'm saying simply something like, these people think nothing of ruining your life, but this is not a fated existence. You just have to be bulletproof. And then it says TomWoodsAnnouncement.com.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
What could that mean, right? You have to know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Now you expressed a concern a while ago that some people might think you're running for office. They're going to be disappointed.
Yes.
Is that still an issue for you?
They do think I'm running. Some people do think that's the announcement. Okay. I don't mind that they're a little bit let down, but I feel like by video number 4, it'll be obvious that that's not what it is. So they'll have some time to grieve and come to terms. By the time my launch occurs, they will have reached the acceptance stage of grief over that. But yeah, I think I was worried about nothing because, okay, if they're then that just means they're really engaged in finding out what the announcement is. But by the time I kind of, because the thing is, I've started to hint a little bit at what it is. I've started to say, I sent to one of my email lists that I use the term lizard people after David Icke. I don't actually believe they're literally lizard people, but it's such a great way to sum up the establishment.
Yeah.
And so I had a subject line, how I intend to fight the lizard people. And so everybody, oh, gee, I wonder. And so I had this short email saying, this has been going on so long, even long before COVID, that we've neglected to stop and think of how absurd our situation is, that we live in a society, you and I, in which every major institution can't stand the sight of us. And we're somehow trying to make our way in this world. Well, and that's difficult and lonely. Doesn't have to be. And then so like, what is this? So I've hinted that it's something to do with how to prosper, even when you're ruled over by people who hate you.
Gotcha. Great.
Yeah.
Was thinking something just passed through my mind and it didn't stick.
It's okay.
So one more video and then February 1st. How are you going to, what's the announcement day going to be like?
Okay, February. I've even, as you kind of suggested, it's February 1st, 9 a.m. So it's not just generic. Like, this is like all my ducks are in a row at 9 a.m. So for everybody who in effect raised their hands and signed up at tomwoodsannouncement.com, they will be the first ones to hear it at 9 a.m. They're going to get an email. And somebody on YouTube said, because I did have some people saying, oh, I'm already on 2 Woods lists. I mean, do I have to be on this one to get the announcement, And I said, well, look, on this one, you will only be emailed that day and you'll never be emailed again. And so somebody repeated this to somebody later and said, well, Wood says we're only going to be emailed once that day. And I interrupted and said, I did not say you would be emailed only once. I said you'd be emailed only that day. I would never say you're going to be emailed only once. So anyway, February 1st, 9 a.m., an email will go out simply linking people to the announcement.
Gotcha.
Which, as per Ken McCarthy, is not a traditional sales page. It is a video.
Yep.
Roughly 15 minutes of me just talking.
Do you have that?
I'm going to record it after we do this. I figured this would be my last chance to think of through the ideas.
Gotcha.
So they'll get that. And when they click the button beneath it, they'll go to a checkout page that has like a mini sales page on it, partly to recap the offer, but also partly in case there are going to be some people who skip the video. They say, let me just see what he wants me to buy. I'll just click the button.
Gotcha. So what are we selling?
Okay. So we are selling the Tom Woods School of Life.
Gotcha.
Which is a program that I got the idea from Jay Abraham. When I had an opportunity to talk to him for an extended period of time, we got down to literally the last 5 minutes of our conversation. The last 5 minutes, I said, I still feel like there's something else I could be doing for my audience that I'm not doing. And I have a site that, educates them on history and other fields and, non-PC history and stuff like that. And I have a homeschool curriculum that I worked on. But there's something else. And I don't know what it is. I don't think I've created my signature product yet. And I don't know what it is. Do you? And he said, yes, I do know what it is. And I thought, of course you do, because you're J blankety blank Abraham. Right? So he said, look, you have an audience of people who follow you and they really like you. They like you as a person. They trust you. They trust your recommendations. Some of them, you might even say, admire you, and they are very happy for the kind of life you live.
Yeah. So
what if you did something for them that's outside the field of libertarian theory, because they're probably experts on that, and think instead about areas of their lives where they struggle, where a lecture on libertarianism is not really the solution to their problems. And so then we worked through this, and I thought, well, let's see. Number one, they want to educate their kids with teachers who don't despise them. in this day and age with COVID, because I talked to him, let's see, I can't remember if COVID was going. No, well, it must have been. I have a lot of people who want to relocate from where they are.
Oh,
and
interesting.
so they need advice on that. They also want to know, how do I relocate on a budget? I'd love to do it, but I'm not made of money and it can be expensive to move. So problems like that. Now we're seeing prices rising, consumer prices. How do you protect your money against rising prices? And our answer cannot simply be buy gold.
Right.
It has to be more,
Right.
And so that's all that they've been getting. I have a lot of people who just do not know how to manage their money or budget or whatever. They could use a seminar in personal finance. But so then beyond all that, just even on the level of social skills, if you go into a room full of people, room full of strangers at a party, let's say, are you panicked or are you confident? Well, most people don't know what to do. Or if they have to strike up a conversation with some stranger, they don't know how to do it. Simple things like that. I can make you better at those things. Or I can teach you through little seminars that we have. I can teach you how to be a better writer. No doubt in my mind, I can make you a better communicator in writing and in speech, because I'm good at both of those things. I don't believe in this BS that you're not allowed to say you're good at things. I'm good at those things.
Very good. I agree. Why not?
And it's not going to help my people for me to pretend that I'm not good at them. I'm going to share my skills with them. So the idea is that every month, now I don't want to make it that every 3 days we're going to learn something new, because it'll be overwhelming. I want it to be finite and limited so that everybody absorbs it. Every month we take on some new area of life where we are either really struggling or we wish we could be better. So my first session is going to be with a guy I know, college professor I know, who's very well spoken, he's very experienced, has written an investment newsletter for over 40 years, and he's written a textbook on personal finance. And he's going to give my people a boot camp on budgeting and all the things that go into that, like insurance and just everything you can think of. He's going to pack into like a 90-minute presentation, and then we're going to stay until everybody's questions are answered. And so every month we take on something, and I bring on somebody I've gotten to know in my travels, somebody I've gotten to know just through the circles I happen to move in, who is a real expert on something and who wants us to succeed, and who in many cases has the same worldview we do, and is going to sit down, share his expertise, so that each month our lives get better, measurably better on some specific thing, month after month after month. That's the School of Life.
Great. Are you going to tell them, are you going to talk about Jay Abraham in your story, or because I think the origin of this, it's important, if you can, it's good to tell how this came to be. I'm not necessarily recommending to use Jay's name, but I think it's very valuable to say, here's how this came about.
I will do that. I wasn't planning to, but I will put that in the sales video. Yeah.
I think it's important because, and then now we're just talking, but these are all potential sales arguments. You can say something like, for years we've been talking about history. The I don't know, not the correct view of history, but the I don't know, what's adjective do you use when you talk about the way you teach history?
I either call it the history they didn't teach you, or history minus the propaganda, or whatever, non-PC history.
There you go. So we've been focusing on history minus the propaganda. We've been focusing on
economics.
Economics minus the propaganda. We've been talking about libertarianism, what it means. Do you ever talk about what it means and what it doesn't mean? Like, here's
sure. Oh, okay. Yeah.
And it's all good, guys. We've been having a great old time, and we're going to continue to. But what about the quality of our lives? What about the amount of money we have in the bank? What about the health and happiness of our children and our families? What about our confidence just in being in the world? And that's why, and I'm kind of mishmashing this. That's what this is about. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing, because we need to take this to the next step, the next level.
Yeah. I like it. I just jotted it down. I jotted some of that stuff down.
And can you talk about your personal transformation? I mean, was there a time when, we were all this way. We can all honestly say there was a time when we were clueless idiots on everything. And bit by bit, we figured it out. We've all made financial disaster mistakes. We've all made relationship disaster mistakes. We've all, I assume you didn't come out of the womb completely formed and competent.
Right. No, it's true. It's true. I mean, for example, just to learn how to make my living after I left a salaried position, I had to figure out all these things about landing pages and email lists and opt-in forms and double opt-in and click-through rates and all this stuff, and generating web traffic and doing social media. And yeah, you do not come out of the womb knowing how to do those things. I had to learn, but the thing is, some of it I learned by just reading and studying what I could, but a lot of it I learned because I just went to the people I saw who were doing a good job of it. People I thought, I want to be like that person. I want to have a command of it like that person. And that is what really managed to shrink my learning curve on these things, is that I just went right to the source. You teach me how to do it. I'll give you some smackers and we'll just do it.
Gotcha. So that's also a potential part of this theme, is that, every time that I've tried to make progress in an area, because of the nature of the work I do and the nature of the network that I've created over the years, I can actually knock on the door of the actual guy that knows the thing.
Exactly. Yeah. That's an excellent point. And by the way, I do have some money in the stock market. Now, I also have gold. I also have Bitcoin, but I do have a substantial amount of money in the stock market. But when I started doing that, I had no idea what I was doing. And so that's why when I had no idea what I was doing, I didn't do it yet. I thought about doing it, but I'm not going to do it like I'm playing roulette. I'm either going to go in there with some knowledge or I'm not going in at all. So I thought, well, let's see. I know people who do this for a living. I know people who have had a successful track record year after year after year. I know people who write investment newsletters that have been around for decades. I know where to go to find out how to do it. But in this case, it's going to be even easier for people in this program, because I would go to these people, but then I would know, okay, this is the person whose books I need to read and whose newsletter I need to consume. But in this case, I'm actually going to bring the person himself to you. We're going to bring that person to these sessions, have him make a presentation to us, and then have him stick around until every last question of yours is answered.
Gotcha. So the best, the best and the brightest.
The best and the brightest. Yes.
Yeah. In all these fields.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
It's interesting, you're talking about writing and speaking. And, of course, one of the best-selling books of all time was How to Make Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, which is essentially a manual on how to do that. So effective that I've heard, I don't know if it's true or just an anecdote, that it's required reading for new CIA agents to read and master what's in that book. And I think the reason that book is so successful is that people do want to make friends. And then the title, by the way, the actual book was really written by somebody else, a famous ad man who's not as famous as he should be. Let me see if I got, anyway, he also wrote How I Raised Myself from a Failure to Success in Selling. Victor Schwab.
Okay.
Victor Schwab. It might be, well, I won't say might, it will be worth your while to find the old ads that sold these two books and read the ads. The reason being is the reason these books were successful is they didn't so much focus on the technology or the techniques or the how-to that they were going to teach. They were very good about talking about the pain that people were in, because they weren't able to achieve what they. Now you touched on it very clearly when you were talking about when you walk into a room and you're a stranger. How do you handle that? That's powerful, because most people have no clue.
Yeah. And you're just standing there fidgeting and just wishing the world would end or something. Right?
Yeah. And so, I strongly recommend going over the advertisements for those two books.
That's
and hitting
good advice.
Because boy, you couldn't find better marketing.
Okay.
All right. So video sales letter. Are you gonna script the thing? Or are you gonna extemporaneously do it?
Well, it'll be a bit of both. Like there'll be a script, because I don't want to get 80% of the way through it and then go blank and then have to
Right.
start all over. I mean, I know you can stitch it together, but it doesn't look good. So I want it to be one clean take. So I will have a fully written out thing in front of me, but I'm not going to read it because people will know I'm reading it. I will have it there to guide me because there's so much I want to convey in so little time.
Gotcha.
And also, they're like, I've got like 9 different areas that we're going to cover, and I just don't trust myself to remember all 9 of them.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Do you have your clothes worked out already?
My expectation is that I will wear.
Oh no, I don't. I'm sorry. I don't mean clothing. I mean.
Oh, my clothes.
Your clothes. Your
CLOSE.
Yeah.
But honestly, I'm thinking. But we laugh about this, but this video, that there is a question: how casual should I be in the video?
Yeah, it's
and
interesting.
I personally think that most people in IM are. Like, I just laugh at how forced casual they are. Like,
right.
Hey, look at how serious I am. I'm wearing a ripped t-shirt, jeans, and sneakers. And that shows how cool I am. No, it just shows you're another one of these lemmings.
Right.
I can't tolerate this. So when you said that, I thought, oh, I have an opportunity to tell Ken what a classy guy I am.
There you go.
By the way, I will be reasonably well dressed for this, but not like I'm going to a gala. But yeah, the close, the close is going to be, and I haven't got the exact words in my mind, although I did write them down, but it is going to be something along these lines. It's going to remind people first about, of course, the close has to include the deadline, and the deadline is tonight. Is the same day that this thing opens up. It's tonight. That's it. And when the doors close, no exceptions. They will not reopen for 6 months. And you can count on it that when they do reopen, the price will have doubled. So
good.
That's that. But then also, just remind them of the pain that we've sort of taken for granted that there's really nothing we can do about the situation we're in. So we're just somehow struggling through it. But we don't have to do that anymore. We can actually, as Harry Brown said, live really good lives in the here and now, despite the lizard people. But you're going to want to do it with me because I'm bringing the best and the brightest to help us. That kind of thing.
Gotcha. And remind me again how much it is a month?
Well, I'm doing it as per 6 months. So I'm doing, so the with the discount, it is a laughable $297
for 6 months.
For 6 months. After the thing reopens, it'll be $597 for 6 months and $997 for a year.
Gotcha. Okay, so one thing that often helps is to compare the price to something else. And I mean, one thing you could say is, for some of you, this is going to be less than a single month's payment on your student loans. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that I was paying back in 81, I was paying $150 a month on my student loans. So I got to think it's higher now.
Right. Yeah.
So compare it to when you and the ideal comparisons are things that are just absolutely ridiculous. It's like, oh my God, I pay that every month and I get nothing. And here I'm getting here I'm getting 6 months and I'm transforming my life.
So, but I'm wondering if that belongs in the mini sales letter on the checkout page, because in the video, I was planning not to say the price so as to force them to press that button.
Oh, I see.
I was going to say 50% discount, but not say the price. So they would have to press that button.
But I like that better. That better. So that would go on and it's correct that you're calling your order page a mini sales letter, because that's really what it is. It's not an order form. It is a full-fledged sales presentation, even though it might be abbreviated.
It is abbreviated. I took what I originally had for the homepage and I cut it about in half.
Gotcha. And don't ever, no one should ever feel that they've got to restrict anything that they put on the order page. Like, anything that you want to put on the order page, any phraseology, any sentence, any statement, just do it. Don't think, well, this is not proper. This is not a proper order page. Forget that.
Okay, good.
It's your 1 yard line. You've moved the ball 99 yards down the field, and there's that 1 yard line, whatever it takes to cross that goal line.
Right.
Great. So they have until that day, which is great. When are you going to let the stragglers know about this?
Well, I could probably use some advice on that, because I don't want to wait that much longer, because they do only have the one day.
Yeah.
So would it be, if 9 a.m. is when the early bird people find out, is 10 a.m. too soon after that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, here's something I did want to talk to you about is, every market, I think we've talked about this, has the hyper responsives, the responsives, the normal people, and then the sludge. So the sludge is about half of your market. They're never going to buy anything from you, no matter what you do.
Okay.
Sell them $20 gold pieces for a nickel a piece. They're not going to take the deal.
Yeah.
So just throw them right out. Normal people are not going to be the pioneers. And by the way, pioneer is something that a word or concept that I would use through.
I'm using that word. I'm using that word. Yeah.
They're never going to be pioneers. So throw them out. So the reality is you're really only dealing with the hyper responsives, and maybe you'll get some of the responsives on the first way through. So I know you want to grab every possible customer you can, but don't do it at the expense of increasing the pressure on the hyper responsives. If you follow me, like, in other words, if you take if you let the pressure valve go, some people might go, I'll do it in 6 months.
Okay, but it's going to cost you double the price. That's a big.
Well, that will move. Remember, so you have these hyper responsives, and what does a hyper responsive mean? It doesn't mean that they're trigger happy. It means is they're super engaged, they're really interested, and they're willing to spend money if it clicks with them.
Yeah.
Okay. So those are that's your real market the first time out. I guess what I'm saying is, think this is a long-term project, what you're doing here. Obviously, you want to sell as many as you can the first time out the gate, but you also want to continue to create the mystique among all the people sitting on the sidelines, who are going to sit on the sidelines no matter what you do. In other words, no matter how early you tell them how great your sales letter is, there's going to be a significant percentage of people that could likely become your customers in 6 months or a year or 2 years, who you're never going to get the first time out. However, you can prod them and plant a seed in their head that, oh my God, I screwed up. Tom gave me a chance to be in on this and I slept on it. What a shame. I'm not going to do it again.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm being, whereas if you say, okay, well, you didn't sign up, but I'm going to let you in anyway.
Oh, no. I guess no, first of all, there'll be no forgiveness here. On this one, I'm full Ben Simmons.
No, but I mean, if you say, well, I'm going to tell the people that opted in at 9, but then I'll tell everybody else at 10. I would consider, I'm not going to say do this, but I would almost consider the announcement that you give to the people that didn't opt in. Sorry, guys, we sold out. Now, I know that might mean leaving money on the table. Now, I'm not saying to do this. I'm just saying let's contemplate this together. Let's think this through together. I'm not even advocating for it, but I do want to introduce this potential dynamic. There are people that, whatever reason, they were too smart to sign in because they figured, well, Tom's going to crack and tell us anyway. And what if they get a message saying, guys, I had a certain number of people that I could take into this program and I hit my number. So that's it, it's over. But I'll let you know next time this comes up, I'll let you know in 6 months. And just thinking about that. And the reason I say that is, again, you've got the hyper responsives who have already signed up. They're the ones that are going to buy anyway. You might squeeze out another 3 or 4 guys that didn't sign up, and now they're going to sign up at 10 a.m. and so on. But think about the investment of really slapping the people that didn't opt in.
Yeah, there is part of me that wants to, because I ask so little. I don't ask anything, right? Yeah. All I do is give. I produce a free show every day, for heaven's sake, right? Every day. What do I ask? And then I send a free email every day. Jeez, I mean, opt in to hear. If I tell you I have something important to say, probably I'm right.
Right. Right. What,
But
just out of curiosity, yeah, go ahead.
oh no, ask me that before you forget, and then I'll tell you my.
Out of curiosity, what percentage roughly did opt in? Do we know?
Of my mailing list, I would say only about 10%.
Okay, that's fine. Your mailing list is huge, though, right? I mean,
Yeah,
relatively speaking.
but it's yeah, but I've also I've promoted the link on Twitter and on Facebook and on YouTube. And I think by the time the thing is ready to go, well, I don't want to give numbers. I would say that to you privately. But
okay, gotcha.
But here's the thing: the reason that I want to just blast it from everywhere is for my own sake, for proof of concept. I want this thing to be a big smash so that I know it's going to work.
Okay.
I don't want it to be mediocre, but then I say, but I really stuck it to those people who didn't opt in. I want to be consoled that, whoa, this thing is going somewhere. So then I'll know, do I need to hire some more people to accommodate the help desk and to help me with this? And I just want to know that right from the start.
Gotcha. I'll just tell you these two stories and do with them as you will. The first time I put on a system seminar, only 68 people showed up. The next time I did one, 160 people showed up. The third time I did one, 350 people showed up. All right, so that's one story. I did my best to sell it, but I created a mystique. The first one was, I think I deliberately limited the number of attendees too. It's going back now, it's 20 years. But the good thing is there was a buzz created by, and here's the other thing. The hyper responsives are also going to be the hyper satisfied. Believe it or not, it's a funny thing. The people that give you the most money and are willing to jump are usually the people that have the less complaints and are most likely to be enthusiastic.
Okay.
So it's very valuable to have a bunch of people in the first class that are just true believers and ardent and love it. And first of all, there are testimonials that you can use, but also start sharing the word spontaneously with other people in the circle, creating the buzz. A buzz that's not coming directly from you. It's actually coming from the people that attended. That's just super powerful.
Okay, first of all, the very idea of teasing this for a month and then opening it for one day is itself gutsy.
Yes.
And it's it was your idea. I was not planning this.
Yeah.
So that's gutsy. I just don't know. I haven't been at this long enough to have the kind of courage that you are requiring of me with the kind of thing you're suggesting. I'm sorry.
Okay. Let me tell you one more story. And again, I'm not even advocating this. I just want to make sure that we've aired it at least.
Okay.
So there was a thing called StomperNet, which ended up being the definition of a cluster fudge because of the way it was managed. However, at one point, they had booked $16 million in business in one day on their launch, theoretically. But they started out with just 20, their first class was just 20 people. And those 20 people became, because they actually had, for a while, they actually had the goods. They were, for a brief shining moment, the ultimate in SEO. They were just hitting it better than anybody else on the planet. So they took 20, reasonably hardworking people with real businesses into their tent, showed them their SEO system, and these guys just epic, 10x, 20x, 50x, people that were struggling their whole lives, hitting $1 million within 6 months. I mean, that's what SEO was like when it was easy. And so those guys became, well, they were like the 12 disciples, selling Christianity. I mean, it was crazy. So don't neglect or underestimate the power of the first class being, especially since you're pioneering it yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, true.
That's one thing we talked about, I think, the last time is I said, well, what are you offering, Tom? And you go, I'm not really sure because I haven't offered it yet. I'm like, which is reasonable. If you've got the goods, it's okay. Like if we take people on an around the world tour, well, I don't know what's going to happen on the around the world tour. I mean, we've made all the arrangements. We assume it's going to be nice. We might have a few bad meals. We might miss a few flights. There might be some bad weather. I don't know. Yeah. And you kind of want the wild and woolly and hyper responsive and super enthusiastic people on that first cruise. It's just more fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, I won't beat this.
No, I get it. I mean, I am thinking about it because I think part of the reason that more people didn't use the announcement link, as I say, they feel like I'm plugged into Tom in so many channels. I subscribe to his YouTube. I'm on his Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm on his newsletter list. Enough's enough. And that could be somebody of very good will who wishes me the best. Okay. Who just doesn't want an extra email. And I don't know that I want to leave them out in the cold for 6 months, especially as I say, I need to see, I can't say what it is, but I have a magic number in my head that I want to hit to convince me that this is worth my while, that enough people are going to want to do it. And I have to try to reach that with as broad an appeal as I can. So, and I feel like I'm letting my father down here, like by telling Ken McCarthy that I just can't do it.
I get it. And there certainly is a practical thing here. The more people on board, the better. I mean, on one level for sure. There's no question about it. But by the way,
if I ever launch another thing, which by the way, I have an idea for another thing for like 5 years from now.
Yeah,
I'm going to do it this way. I will, because by then, if I launch that second thing, that means I'm on easy street because this thing did so well. Yep. Then people are being frankly punished. If they don't sign up for that announcement, they are being punished.
But this is how the launch, the so-called launch method that a student of mine supposedly created, worked. It was this, this drumbeat that went on for weeks, sometimes months. And you didn't know what it was, you didn't know what the price was going to be, but you knew it was going to be from this guy that you loved and that you heard so many great things about or experienced so many great things with. And it was sign up this day or forever hold your peace,
Well, wait a minute. But so people know though that some product is coming out. See, with my announcement, they don't even know that.
Well, even that would be obscured. The StomperNet thing, nobody knew that it was going to be a $995 a month SEO mastermind group.
Jeez.
Until I don't think
this product I am giving it away. I am giving it away. If you're not taking this at $297 for 6 months, then you can't assess value. I don't know what to tell you. I don't trust you on anything. I don't trust you on anything if you're not taking this.
Yeah. Well, now here's something you have to understand too. This is really important. There are people who are info buyers and there are people who are not. Now, the good news is I'm assuming most of your audience buys books at least.
Yeah.
So they have that, you don't have to cross that huge chasm.
Right.
But there may be a lot of them who have never in their life spent more than $100 on a single.
Oh, that's right. Oh, I hear you. And I'm not saying that if I want to clarify. I shouldn't have implied that I'm saying that if you don't join, I think you're subhuman. I mean, if you don't recognize the value in this, if you don't at least say, look, it's not for me, but I totally get that it's worth at least that, then we can still be friends.
Gotcha. Absolutely. But my point is, I don't know have you ever sold a $297 thing to that?
Not that expires in 6 months. I've sold a $297 lifetime thing.
Gotcha. Okay. So good. This is good. So there are people in your sphere, literally on your list, who the idea, because there are some people that, spending more than $29 on a book is like, it's out of their, because, so to the extent you have people like that on your list, and you certainly, everybody does. Yeah. You'll have a lot of trouble selling to those people and proving value no matter what you do.
Yeah.
Because it's like you're trying to, it's like was it Claude Hopkins that said, don't try to sell razors. This was when people in Russia were required by law to wear beards. Did you know that? The Tsar thought all men should wear beards. And if you shaved, you were flogged. You were publicly flogged. Did you know about this?
Well, Peter the Great wanted to do the opposite to modernize Russia, was to get rid of the beard. So I know the beard has been very symbolic for Russians.
There you go. So what the point Claude Hopkins made, I think when he was writing, it was the beards were in. He was saying, don't try to, you'll never sell razors in Russia. Just don't even try,
Yeah.
So my point is there, there may well be a significant, percentage of people on your list for whom the idea of spending this level of money, on anything educational, informational just doesn't click. So here's your total list, and then however many people actually are conditioned, not by you, but by life in general.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing is like, we're really never doing anything unique. We're finding people that have already been preconditioned in some way. And then we're just selling them more of the same that they're already used to getting. Like
Yeah.
if somebody's never left the country and doesn't have a passport, the idea that you're going to sell them on a a trip to Hawaii, a trip to well, no one wants to go to Australia now, but a trip to the Fiji Islands, it's just never going to happen.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. No, I hear. Well, the thing is,
Yeah.
I've been consoled by something I read in the System Club Letters book. Which I suppose I probably knew in my gut, but I needed to see it in so many words. When you said something along the lines of, if you have the right offer presented to the right audience,
right,
you don't have to be the world's greatest copywriter because you've got that great combination.
Right.
It doesn't hurt, but that won't necessarily make or break it. Whereas you could literally be the world's greatest copywriter, and if you have the wrong offer for the wrong audience, like razors in Russia, you can't sell it. And that's been kind of consoling to me because, some people are really dying to hear what my announcement is. I guarantee you, I'm even more dying to make the announcement because I want to see how many people come on board.
Right.
I genuinely feel like this is going to do a lot of people a lot of good. And I want to know how well it's going to do. So I've been consoled by this, that as I've crafted exactly what I'm going to say on that video, I feel like, yep, it's really good. But this is a case where the offer and the audience have met. And so even if I'm only 80% of my normal level of skill on this, the audience and the offer are in sync.
Gotcha.
Fingers crossed, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's either a good idea or it isn't. And it is a good idea. You're the right guy to deliver it. It's God knows it's needed. And you've got the right story. And speaking of the story, I do want to see if we can find something where you can talk about your own personal transformation. I mean, you did make the transformation from being a salaried guy to an independent guy. You could probably talk credibly about and I'm not saying any one of these things has to go into it, but just we're throwing a lot of ingredients on the table and seeing what might end up in the pot. You could probably credibly speak to the misery of being a salaried employee. There's a lot of negatives to that.
Yeah.
The politics for one.
Oh yeah. And the fact that it's kind of nice what I do. For example, the fact that I have so many different income streams means that I get surprised some days. So like all of a sudden, oh my goodness, $800 came in. I don't even know how. Oh yeah. I had that affiliate link up 5 months ago, and I guess somebody must have bought the thing.
Right.
Like I get probably a few $100s a month from Lead Pages, which is just a landing page service, the exact landing page service I use, the one I use for TomWoodsAnnouncement.com. So I know it's great. And in fact, I even tell people if they buy an annual plan, I'll get on Skype with them and I'll take 20 minutes and show them how to use it. Because I love it.
That's Lead Pages.
Lead Pages. Yeah, I couldn't live without it. So occasionally I just get this random $300, whereas on that salary, now on the one hand, it's comforting to know I'm going to get X dollars every pay period. That's in some ways that's a comfort, but in some ways that's kind of discouraging because you're only going to get that, unless you deliver pizzas on the side or something.
Right.
So there is something nice about this kind of lifestyle that I have that you get surprised. You get a bonus just like that. Gotcha. But also as I mentioned, when I first decided I wanted to try to invest money, I don't know how to invest money. What are you talking about? How would I know? So I said, well, I know this guy and I trust him and he's got a great track record and he's got people who would crawl over broken glass for him. So he must be doing something right. So I knew immediately who the right person was and how to get the information out of him. So there are cases where I myself have been through the ringer on such and such thing. And by the way, I remember being, no, I don't think this is a particularly big pain point for people, but it's a bonus. I can show people how to be more effective as writers. I can show them that, how to communicate better. I remember when I thought I was a good writer, and it was very hard for me to accept that I was actually a shitty writer. It was hard for me to accept that. But it was because I was a junior in high school. Everybody's a lousy writer in high school, practically everybody. But I was convinced I was good because I used a lot of big words and I juxtaposed them just so. And my and plus I was the kid who got all A's. So why didn't my junior, when I was in high school, why didn't my junior year English teacher know that Woods gets an A? Like, why is she giving me a C on my paper? She doesn't understand. I'm good. And she explained to me, no, the problem is you're not concise. You're much, much too wordy. And when you're 16, you think that makes you a good writer. And unfortunately, if no one stops you, you go through all of life thinking that makes you a good writer. And then you come onto my desk and I am marking that up with red markings all over the place. And she forged me in that 1 year. She forged me into a good writer. She made me rewrite things and rewrite them and rewrite them and rewrite them until not only were they good, but I had built up the ability, the instinct to be able to say, that's a piece of good writing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. What a great gift that teacher gave you.
Yeah. Yeah, she did. She did.
Wow.
She made my life possible with that one skill.
Wow. Hey, kind of related to this, how many people on your list do you think, and this is kind of a strange thing, but it's a dynamic that's out there, want to be you?
Oh, gosh.
Like, I'd like to be Tom. I know it's such an embarrassing thing.
It is. Because I may play this audio for them someday, right? You know, what are they going to think of me?
Well, it's not that. It's just, there's psychological dynamics out there, and they're out there. And somebody once said this to me, because I was always of the mindset that I'm a technician. I know technical things. I'm going to teach you technical things. And that's how I went through my business.
Yeah.
And people appreciated that because nobody else was teaching what I was teaching when I taught it. And they went out and made a lot of money with it. But then somebody said to me, but you don't understand, Ken, one of the things they're buying is they want to be like you. They want to be like me. Why the hell would you want to be like me? You know what I mean? It's just like, be like yourself. It seems like such a crazy idea, but there is that dynamic. They may look at you and say, wow, what a great life. He's got his podcast. I don't know how, I guess my question is, what percentage of your subscribers want to be commentators or public figures? Do you think it is a percentage? Is it a meaningful percentage? I was curious.
Yeah, I'm not sure, because I do think there are some people who would love to be able to monetize being a libertarian. And I use the word monetize a lot. And I think there are people who think, monetize is a magic word that means that you can do anything you love and just figure out some way to make it pay. And the thing is, it's very, very hard to make libertarianism pay. The information superhighway is littered with the corpses of people who have tried, Ken. It's hard to do.
Yeah, can I hate to interrupt you, but
yeah,
I did send you the copy of the Harry Brown book, right?
I had already read the Harry Brown book.
Okay.
But I'm glad I didn't have a copy. I read it in the library.
But you know what? You couldn't have that book. I'm the only person that ever published it.
Are you kidding me? No, then I must have read the Kindle version.
Oh, you must have read the Kindle version. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, there's only those. I only printed 2,000 copies of it, and it only exists.
That's funny. Yeah. Then I know for a fact I read it on the Kindle version.
Okay. And you might have bought it directly from Pamela Brown.
That could be. And because I remember reading it and thinking, because there would be some talk about, when you get the prospect on the phone, and I would think, oh, this is like kind of old timey, right?
Right. Well, just you may remember or not remember, but it's instructive. That was basically a private manuscript that was, I think he mimeographed it or something. He was using it in the he used to do sales training. Were you aware of that? Harry Brown used to.
It doesn't surprise me given his knowledge.
Yeah, that's how he kind of started. So anyway, to bring this full circle, yes, you can monetize libertarianism, and Harry Brown is the model of it because he developed a libertarian approach to selling. That's what that book is about.
Okay, but that can't understand how there's a reason that we only we can only think of Harry Brown as doing that, because he's doing something highly unique. I'm talking about somebody who thinks if I start a libertarian blog or podcast, the checks will just start coming in.
Oh no, I understood. That's a pipe dream. That's a
Yeah.
pipe dream. No, but what I mean is the libertarian spirit can be taken into the marketplace, the larger marketplace of everything, every possible thing, every item, every service, every business, every industry. And if someone is rigorous about their libertarian principles, not as an ideologue, but as somebody that lives them and expresses them in how they conduct themselves in business, they will do well. I mean, let's remember Gary Bencivenga, who's no slouch.
Yep.
Loves that book, thinks it's one of the best sales book. I think he flat out says it's the best sales book ever written. So my point is, yes, people can apply their libertarian principles and make a ton of money, not selling libertarianism.
Yeah.
I guess
okay.
I want to put that out there because you're the guy to tell this to. If I ever can convey this to anybody, that most selling and persuasion and marketing, which, I mean, let's face it, whatever somebody needs to do if they want to make more money, they're going to have to become marketers. Whether they're selling libertarianism or they're selling, generators to power your house when the electricity, whatever they're selling, they've got to become a marketer. Would you agree?
I completely agree. And
okay,
I'm, by the way, in parentheses, I'm constantly feeling like I have to tell even marketers themselves that they should not feel ashamed of what they do, or that they need to apologize for it, or that they are just middlemen who don't contribute anything. That, geez, if even you don't understand the nature of what you do, how do you expect the rest of society to? Anyway, end of parentheses.
No, it's really important. It's really important because if part of what you're going to be teaching people is how to survive in this world, one of the ways to survive in this world is to be an entrepreneur of some type.
Yeah.
And to be an entrepreneur, you need to be a marketer. You just have to be. Yep.
Well, that reminds me, by the way, that I have, and this is probably not the time to ask you, but sometime, not in the first 6 months, but sometime down the road, I want to send Ken McCarthy yet another check. It's just the checks just keep coming in when you know Woods. Okay. The checks keep coming in. Ben Settle didn't tell you that part, but the checks just keep coming in. I want to send Ken McCarthy a check and have him come on and talk about business related stuff to my School of Life people.
Oh, I'd be honored. And maybe I would talk about the Harry Brown book and what it means. And because to finally put a period on this, most people that approach marketing, well, either they are averse to it or they embrace it in a slimy way. In other words, they think that marketing is learning all the slimy tricks and all the ways to deceive people.
Yeah.
What Brown says, which is so brilliant, is the best marketing is the marketing with the most integrity and the most, you're not trying to dominate somebody else. You're not trying to take away somebody else's freedom. You're trying to find out what do they actually need.
Yes.
To see if can you actually help them or not. Maybe you can't help them. Maybe you cannot. So you should, you know what I mean? So you disclose that to the person. So it through libertarianism, at least the way Harry Brown approaches it, you've got a royal road to business success and entrepreneurial success.
So, okay, that's really, really, I mean, we could definitely pursue this even further. And that actually kind of reminds me of something that it's been hard for me to accept that Ben teaches, that he got from Jim Camp, the negotiator, about the value of getting a prospect to say no to you.
Yeah.
Because we all want to hear yes, because it's a magic word, right? But then I read that book by Chris Voss, the FBI negotiator, Never Split the Difference. I had him on my show, and he makes an excellent point. He says, we've all gotten sales calls where the first call will be, do you enjoy fresh, clean water? Now, of course, like, what am I going to say other than yes? But the thing is, that kind of yes is tinged with a, what are you on about? Like, what is this all about? Like, that's not a yes that you really want. And then the next follow-up question, do you prefer not to drink poison? I mean, of course you're going to get yeses that way, but those aren't the yeses you want, because when you then go to make the sale, you're going to get a big fat no. Right. So that's the kind of slimy, manipulative, kind of thing that I'm sure somebody taught somewhere. Just keep making the person say yes, and then when they come for the sale, they'll say yes. Doesn't work like that, nor should it.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe we're talking about content that's going to appear later in the school. But I think you can legitimately say to people that libertarian principles plug in seamlessly and perfectly and effectively into successful business operations. And if you don't know that, you're going to learn that in the school of life. And I'm going to give you a case study with a guy whose name and that's Harry Brown.
Yeah.
So because the reason I emphasize this is money and how to make a living and what to do, when you lose your job or whatever, is a huge issue for people. And so I know the school's going to address that, but I just want to make clear that it's not a theory that your libertarian background provides a unique foundation to teach people how to be financially independent.
Yeah, see that really, I do like that kind of angle, and and in a way, it's kind of an indictment of the libertarian world that everybody knows Harry Brown ran for president on the Libertarian Party ticket. Almost nobody knows Harry Brown wrote The Secret of Selling Anything.
Right, and was a successful sales trainer. He had a whole big business in LA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and yet that was as much a part of who he was as his libertarian views were. And so that is something I want to bring out is let's you like Harry Brown? Great. Then let's look at the whole man, and not just that he was very well spoken, very impressive, could make very good arguments, but also this other aspect of him, that not only was he a good salesman, I mean, we think of him as being like one of the most persuasive libertarians we've ever seen, but to then in your own field get applauded like that, to have your book called possibly the best sales book ever written. So you're really, really good at what you do for a living too. Not that many people can say that.
Right. So this is something that the School of Life can credibly, absolutely offer people as well.
Yeah.
And that social awkwardness thing that really resonated with me. What happens when you walk into a room and you don't know anybody? There is a and maybe everything could be couched. There is a libertarian answer to that, but you won't find it in any libertarian theory books, but you will hear about it in the Tom Woods School of Life. Because these people are 100% libertarian. Yes.
I would say, I mean, there are probably a handful of conservatives, but if they've come this far with me, they've learned to tolerate my libertarianism.
Gotcha. And so what this really is okay, we've got this libertarian, we believe in it, we know it's the right way. Does it have applicability in how to raise our children, how to educate our children, how to take care of our money, how to make sure that we're financially independent, how to make a living, how to walk into a room where we don't know anybody and feel comfortable and confident?
Yeah.
And they're gonna, and you know what the answer is? Gee, no, I don't know of any, because the prospect is going to go, well, I never even thought of these things.
Right.
And Tom, you can credibly say you can tell people that libertarianism provides the foundation for all of these things in life that they want to accomplish. And that's what the Tom Woods School of Life is going to do. It's going to connect the dots.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a thought,
Jeez, I wish I could split test 3 of these, Ken, honestly. I'm just jotting this down. Okay.
But let's say if we think this through, we know they're libertarian minded. And so they're libertarian partisans, which is, hey, fair enough. Everybody's a partisan to something. And if you're going to be partisan to something, why not be partisan to a philosophy that's respectful to other human beings? That's a pretty good thing to be partisan to. So we know that for a fact. They're libertarian partisans. We know they have human problems because we all do. And it's money, family, relationships, health. It's the same. It's the same for everybody all the time.
Yeah.
So we know that's true. Wouldn't it be exciting for a libertarian to realize they're only one turn of the dial away from success in all these pain points that they're in, that they're already halfway there because of their libertarian philosophy? And what's been missing is the practical application of, all right, how do you use libertarian philosophy when you walk into a room and you don't know anybody? How do you use libertarian philosophy if you're looking for a business to start or a way to change your career? How do you use, libertarian philosophy to guide the education of your children? How,
Yeah.
in other words, it's not
Yeah.
just, it's not like, well, there's this libertarian stuff over here that I've been talking about. Now I'm going to talk about this practical stuff over here. I somehow I think if there was a way that, it's like this, it's not, and on the one hand, I've been doing this for all these years, and now I'm going to go off in this direction. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that. I mean, it is probably one or two steps additionally from, let's say, baseline libertarian theory to some of these conclusions, but it is indeed only the one or two steps, because, like, for example, the school of economics that most of us are attracted to is the Austrian school, and the Austrian school places overwhelming emphasis on the consumer. That actually, for example, the price of producer goods, like the tobacco cutting machine that cuts the cigarettes, or whatever the machinery, all these things, the prices of those things don't come from heaven. The price of those things come from how much does the consumer desire the finished product. If he desires the finished product a lot, then that desire gets bumped up through the whole production chain and helps to determine the prices of all these other things. If nobody wants cigarettes as of tomorrow, the price of the cigarette machine, cutting machine, will be zero.
Right.
And it will have nothing to do with, but I put a lot of work into building that thing. That has nothing to do with it. It has to do with, what does the other person want and value? And that is what explains all these others. So the consumer is the center of the whole picture. And so you can take that and then apply this in all these other things. Like, for example, in social skills, again, your emphasis has to be on the other person. What are the desires of the other person? Libertarianism is teaching you to put a boundary around other people, that you can't physically harm them, because that would be violating our most fundamental principle. But then if you want to make any progress with them, you just simply take that to the next step. Okay, now that you're not punching them in the face, your next step to succeeding with them is finding out what they want,
right,
and giving it to them.
Right.
All right. So maybe that is a better way to approach it than to say, enough with this libertarian theory. Let's talk things that help us.
Yeah. And here, now there's one other piece to tie this together. You've done this in your own life.
Yeah.
You were, I mean, maybe you've lived a trouble-free, problem-free life, but I have a feeling there were things that you had to learn along the way. You learned how to write, thanks to that teacher. But there may be other things. I mean, have you always been an outgoing, socially comfortable guy?
Oh my gosh, you should have said, I was, let's just say I was not the most popular kid in school. I'll just leave it there.
Okay. Well, you know what? And nobody likes to talk about this. I certainly don't like to talk about it in my own life. However, it really is a strong sales point, because people could say, well, Tom was born that way and I'm this way and I can never be, you made a try. And, by the way, I sometimes do disclose this. I mean, I had what could only, I mean, thank God they didn't have such a diagnosis when I was a child, but I had what could only be categorized as a out of control social anxiety problem as a child.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
Like as bad as, like unable to speak to other people. I mean,
wow.
I was wrecked.
No wonder that what I said resonated with you about going into a room of strangers. That must have been terrifying.
My life was from about 5th grade till maybe the middle of college, just an unending hell.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But I'm not selling a better life to people, so I never talk about that. But my point is, though, there's a lot of people out there that have varying degrees of discomfort. That's why How to Make Friends and Influence People sold so many copies. The title was amazing. The ads were amazing. The promise was amazing. And every single person on earth, unless they learn how, is uncomfortable with other people, especially in our kind of fragmented, disjointed society where we don't have manners. And, at least some of these other countries, they have such not regimented in a negative sense, but things are so formal. Like if you ever study other languages, there's so many politisms and formalities that are built into everyday communication. It creates a format for people to just interact. We don't have that in this country. We're a frontier, just here I am, and well, that doesn't always work, But anyway, I'm getting far afield. But my point is, to the extent that you can talk about how you were a flop in some of the things that you're purporting in a positive way to be able to help people with, that's a powerful sales argument. It's like, none of the, because like, socialese, yeah, some people are lucky, they're born with that. Maybe they had a really perfect family life and they just learned it naturally. That vast majority of people do not. Anybody that is at ease socially learns how to be at ease.
Yeah.
Anybody who becomes persuasive learns how to be persuasive. In fact, I'm still reading every day. I'm reading books on how to persuade better. I mean, it never stops. So that all of these things that people want to accomplish are a learning process. I think this is very important for people to understand, that it's not, some people have it, some people don't. It's not about that. It's about some people have identified the areas that matter to them, and this is what you are proposing to do with them. I've identified these big areas, and I'm going to go out and get the guys that know how, and they're going to show us how.
Yeah.
Because that's how everybody gets good at this. Nobody figures it out on their own. I mean, ultimately.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you can read here and you can read there, and yeah, that'll help. But the best thing in life is to be like this with somebody who knows and who'll just lead you through it.
When I was first freelancing after I left a salaried position, the best I could think to do was just accept every single speaking engagement I got and fly all around the country all the time when I had 3 little kids. That was my entrepreneurial instinct at the time. Or I signed up for the Amazon affiliate program so I would earn $57 a month in commissions. And like this was as far as I went, until an expert sat me down and said, look at what you're leaving on the table. Why don't you give people more of what they like about you? Why don't you do this? And so then I said, and I was successful. I opened that Liberty Classroom website. And that's when I thought, wait a minute, I've been selling myself short. But I needed somebody to tell me that. Sure. I did not figure that out myself. Did not. Someone had to tell me.
Yeah.
But luckily, I traveled in the kinds of circles where I would be likely to meet somebody like that. Not everybedy's doing that. No, I'll bring them the people.
That's the beauty of it. Like, I want to just tell you a funny story. There's a guy named Rick Beato who has a very successful YouTube music channel. And apparently there's a new thing in YouTube called YouTube Shorts. They're 30 seconds or less. And it's like a parallel system to YouTube, and YouTube Shorts stuff gets distributed in a different way. And he wanted to play the game, but the YouTube Shorts had a different layout, and he was having trouble with it, and he couldn't make it work. And he was getting frustrated, and he lost all his motivation. And then a buddy of his said, Rick, don't you realize that all you have to do to make the format correct is to turn your cell phone this way? And this is a brilliant man. This is a guy with a big record studio.
Oh, no.
He's an engineer. I mean, he's a master guitarist. He's written books on music theory. This is a smart guy. And he needed someone to just tell him, just rotate your smartphone and you'll get the right dimensions. It's so great. So we all need this. So, and this, if there's a way you can work this, I'm trying to think of that may not be the best anecdote to tell, but just, it's just so important. The human connection. There's, you can say this. Books are the greatest invention since we tamed fire. But nothing beats the human element when it comes to transmission of knowledge and learning. And that's what I'm going to be bringing you in the School of Life. Because it's true. It's true that people, a guy could be, reading stacks of books like this, and it would just take one person to take them by the hand and say, okay, here's how, all those books are good, but here's how it really works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. This is good. Now, this is funny that, again, I expect someday I'll run this as a bonus episode of my podcast, and people will say, darn, I remember all these points he made in that video. He got them all from McCarthy here.
Well, yeah. Well, I know. I mean, it's a collaboration.
Oh, no, it is. No, it is.
Yeah,
it is.
yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty happy with what I've come up with, but boy, am I going to sprinkle some nice bits and pieces of this into there for sure.
Well, this is a wonderful enterprise that you're undertaking. I mean, this is a wonderful thing, right?
Thank you. I'm very
Yeah.
excited about it.
Yeah.
You can feel good about, a thing like this. Because sometimes people buy my books and they never read them. And I can't stop them. I can't go to their houses but and say, hey, put your other books down. But I feel like there's something about this thing, something exciting about it, that people are going to want to be engaged in it. It's easier than reading a book because you don't have to force yourself through. It's going to be fun. And you're going to be joined by a lot of people who think the way you do and who all want to make a change and improve things. Frankly, I'm looking forward to. I know I'm going to have a pile of testimonials after this first 6 months.
Yeah, yeah, and this is humanity at its best. Transmitting knowledge person to person. It's just a great thing.
That's right.
So let's see. But I do want to say this. Definitely have your not your clothes, not your clothing, but definitely have your clothes like no improvisation like that.
Okay.
That's a piece you want, machined. You
Okay.
want that you don't want any fumbling at all. And I'm also going to say the intro is super important.
Well, here, okay, let me say something about the intro.
Yeah.
I was thinking as you were telling me that I needed to, or that it would be good for me to talk about the origin story of the product.
Yeah.
I was thinking of, instead of starting the video with, hey, everybody, thanks for, arriving to, coming here to hear my announcement or something bland like that.
Yeah.
Don't even acknowledge that it's the announcement and just start with, let me tell you a story. Because that is badass, don't you think?
Absolutely. And I got to tell you this, I hate this thing of, gee, everybody, thanks for coming to my YouTube channel. It's like, what the did Abraham Lincoln say, thanks for coming to hear my speech, at Gettysburg? Where did this habit come from? Get up there and go.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Yeah. So just dive right in.
Like, don't even it's like they're like, what is he doing now? We've been waiting all month for this.
And now he's telling me a blankety blank story.
Like, what's going on here? Like, keep it going. Keep it going,
Okay, because I'm going to start with that J. Abraham story, because not only is it a great story, but it also, because in the course of telling the story, I mentioned that, look, I created this product that helps people who suffered from educational malpractice learn the real stuff. So for the people who sign up for my product, that problem is solved. I helped create a K through 12 homeschool program for people who have the ideas we have. So for anybody who wants that kind of education, that problem is solved. It's there. The solution is there. So it builds up the idea that I actually have a track record of solving problems.
Right.
But now I'm tackling this even bigger thing because J. Abraham told me this is the thing that you need to be doing. So it does both things. It tells the story, but it also makes clear I'm not just somebody who flaps his gums. Yeah. I've actually literally solved problems. Gotcha.
You might hold that part until a little later in the presentation.
Okay.
The part about the fact that you've solved problems before.
Okay.
I think you really want to start out with the pain point first. And then as you get to, and I have this solution, and before I tell you what the solution is, let me tell you about some other problems that I've confronted and that I've helped solve. And you can talk about,
okay. I'm sorry, my computer's running low. I'm just plugging it in. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that makes sense.
Yeah. So they already know, luckily they already know who you are. That's a beautiful thing that you don't have to get into who you are. Now you might want to reinforce your expertise when it comes down to the back half of the presentation, but all good stories begin with once upon a time.
Yeah.
I'm not saying to begin with once upon a time, and this is where I would consider, and I know this is probably against your nature, and it's kind of against mine. However, I know it works really well, and it will sell like gangbusters. is, once upon a time, there was a young kid who was really not terribly popular. And I mean, this is painful to get into,
Oh, no. I'm eating this up.
Okay.
It might, all that suffering I went through might as well pay off in some way, Ken.
Exactly. There you go. Good. There you go. And like lay it on and make it sound like, wow, this kid's going nowhere. This is going to be the most pathetic. This is going to be a sad story. I don't know if I'm emotionally equipped to hear what Tom's going to tell me what happened to this kid. And then you can say, and that kid was me. And the difference between that kid and me, yes, part of it was books, but a big part of it was person-to-person education. For example, I was blessed with a composition teacher that wouldn't accept, that very same story you told me. Perhaps we'd include that. And what a difference that made in my life. That's something I couldn't learn from a book. And that's kind of the theme that we want to set early in this thing, that, yeah, books are the greatest thing ever, no question. But to talk to the guy that actually knows the stuff and learn it straight from him, that's the transformative piece that most people are missing. And they're missing because they don't have access to the teachers. I mean, I'll give you an example from my own life. This won't help you specifically with language, but all my life I wanted to learn music. And I had the world's worst music teacher when I was a little kid. He was nasty. He was mean to me. I mean, it's pathetic. I actually came to my lesson at age 8. I had composed music. I had things on the piano that I could play, that I made up. And he looked at it and, well, he did like one of these and then put the book up and had me doing na, 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 and I and I just felt, and I never felt any better after that. Now, here I am 62, thanks to YouTube. I mean, this is different than,
right.
But because you're behind closed doors and they can't get what you have via YouTube. But thanks to YouTube, there's 1,000,001 great music teachers on YouTube right now. It's like a golden age. And I am now at age 62 playing the piano because I'm finally able to access people who really know and really want to teach. And now in your case, it's, you don't want to tell them they can go to YouTube for this stuff because they really can't. But that dynamic of the difference between, trying to learn it from a book or having a bad teacher and having the best possible teacher. And that's what you're bringing to them in all these areas of life.
If I take your advice about starting off with a story about my pathetic self when I was younger.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, I have some pretty good pathetic stuff going on over the years beyond my youth.
Yeah.
So I don't know how far I take it because I'm not sure I have quite enough from just being a kid who was kicked around a lot. I could talk failures or whatever.
Yeah. Well, there was a great, you probably heard this once. It was like he ran for county judge and he lost. He ran for state assemblyman and he lost. He ran for state senate and he lost. Then he went bankrupt. Then he went blah, blah, blah. Then he won. Then he was Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's such a jarring thing. It's like, wow. And that's the other thing too. One of the big things you're selling here legitimately is hope for a better life. And one of the things about hope for a better life is you have to believe that it's even possible. Because a lot of people are like, well, this is it, and this, which is a very desperate, horrible condition to find yourself in a situation you're not happy with, and to think, well, this is it, there's no way out. So one of the things you're selling is hope. And one of the things that you can legitimately offer as legitimate hope is that which the transformations you made in your own life.
Yeah.
And so I would definitely think about talking about that, because my guess is you've never talked about these things on any of your shows.
Not a lot.
Yeah. So and then of course you segue into, and look at the boat we're all in today. We've got the most authoritarian government since the Third Reich. Yeah. They're burning down all our small businesses. They're closing our churches. They're segregating us as if it were the bad old days of the South. I mean, everything that possibly can go wrong is going wrong. So what do? Well, there's hope.
Yeah. Okay.
Through personal transformation, which I believe has got to be a libertarian philosophy. I don't think libertarian says wait for some great force to come down and grant you benefits.
Yeah, right.
Is that part of libertarian
Yeah,
philosophy?
right. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. The key lesson of the COVID thing, with all the restrictions and stuff, and people thinking, geez, I hope this comes to an end. The key lesson we've had to take away is a profoundly libertarian one, which is nobody is coming to save you.
bingo. Bingo. You know, in another analogy or metaphor that we can, you know, how are diamonds made? You know, diamonds are lumps of coal that, you know, have been subjected to tremendous pressure. And that's where we are right now, folks.
Yeah.
And it's time to become diamonds, you know, and we're going to do it through self-education and self-development.
Yeah.
You know, and we've got the theory, we've got the books. Now
Yeah.
we're going to take this into another realm.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to, boy, this really,
I know
this
I'm throwing
upends
a lot at you.
No, this kind of upends how I was planning to record this. So I'm going to actually work on this tonight, and I may record it really late at night, which is actually when I'm at my best. And then I want to see what you think, and we'll have a follow-up chit chat.
And it's included in what you paid me already. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
Awesome.
Okay. I appreciate what you're doing so much. What you're doing is a really important thing.
Thank you.
Beyond the, you know, there's business for you, and I understand, and it's business, you know, but this is an important thing for humanity.
That is how I feel about it. And I feel that's why I want it to succeed, because I want to be able to say, although obviously I'll still do the podcast and all that, I want to be able to say, this is what I do for a living. I transform people for a living.
Yep.
That's a nice way to live your life.
Yeah. And it's real.
Yeah.
It's not smoke. I mean,
this is all practical, right? I mean, yeah. Either you learn how to make a budget or you don't. I mean, there's no, there's no third option.
And the weird thing is, as simple as that is, if you know how to budget, you've just transformed your life.
You have. Absolutely.
You're in another planet.
Yeah.
Against the guy that hasn't.
Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to see this.
Thanks, Ken. You are really, you are a gem. You've helped me so much. And by the way, my conversation with you right now is living proof of the whole theme of this thing, which is that person to person human interaction. I could have read books, but the thing is, those books wouldn't have been pinpointed to my specific case. And so you're able to look at what I'm trying to do and help me do it better with years of experience that I don't have.
There you go.
So there you go. All right. Well, thank you very much for this, Ken. I sure appreciate it. I'll email you soon.
Please do. I can't wait.
All right. Thanks. Take care.
So long. Bye-bye.
Bye.